Thanks for joining me, whether you're just watching the video or you're going to actually paint along with me. Alaska Summer Lupine is a biennial, at least where I lived on the Kenai Peninsula. Every other year it would come into bloom and there'd just be fields of it. It was just beautiful. So I'm going to be using Schmink watercolors, except for one color, cerulean. I'll be using Winsor Newton. I'll be using quinacridone magenta, quinacridone purple, quinacridone blue, and sap green. I'll also be using transparent sienna. And then again, the Winsor Newton is cerulean. These are the brushes that I'll be using. And I will also be painting on Yupo paper, which is a synthetic paper. It doesn't absorb the watercolor. It does just a little bit, but pretty much it just flows fluidly. There's the Yupo. Two different kinds. There's lots of kinds on Amazon. I'm using what am I using? A 6 by, what is it? I think it's 6 by 15 paper, the dimensions. So here I am just throwing on a background using the cerulean. The cerulean is really cool. It kind of separates into this purpley blue. I want the background to be light right now. Later I will be making it a bit darker, kind of looking like it's giving the impression that you're in a field of lupine. This is all organic. Oh, right now I am just cleaning up the edges with a dry brush. This is organic painting. I am using those first few pictures of the lupine as reference just for colors and shapes. But other than that, I'm just using my imagination. I'm drawing from scratch. So I did not draw first. So I'm just drawing with my paintbrush here. You'll see in a minute. I make a stem to get my just a kind of a base to paint petals on. So now I'm moving over to my Schmink watercolors, and I'm using ultramarine green and ultramarine blue and some sap green. I think I add a little transparent sienna to make it a little bit darker, and this is what the color that I will be using for my leaves and for my stems in different values, darker and lighter. So here I am just kind of winging it, putting in a stem diagonally, and that'll be the base for the flower, the petals of my lupine. I'll come back in later and fill in the stem better, give it some light and shadows, and the leaves as well. But right now I just need a guide. Okay, so now I'm moving to my cat tongue brush, and I love this brush. I don't use it often. I'm using quinacridone magenta and some ultramarine blue. I'm getting that ready. I don't use it very much. It's so good for lupine and flowers that have petals like lupine, because basically you can just lay the brush down and it does the work for you. You don't have to paint or flip or, you'll see here in just a moment how simple this is. So what I'm doing first is just getting a base of petals. I'm just getting some color down there. I'll be using the magenta and the ultramarine blue. I'll put it all on, and then I'll kind of dab some of it off with a paper towel just to get a base. And you can see how I'm kind of pushing. The reason I'm doing that is you can't do this with traditional watercolor paper, but you can do it with Yupo. If you kind of push and wiggle your brush, you can get light. You can get the white to come out behind the paint, which adds a lot of character. This is a slower video. Most of my videos are, I time lapse them so that, you know, they'll only be usually under 10 minutes or under 5 minutes or a short. But I have been requested to slow some of my videos down so that the process can be seen better, or if somebody wants to paint along with me. So I paint really loose, and you can see the water, the color dripping down, and that doesn't bother me at all. I think it makes for a very beautiful effect, and so I don't worry about it. I leave it. Unless it gets just really massive, I won't mop it up. It just adds to the organic atmosphere of the painting. Okay, so I am taking a paper towel and I'm dabbing up some of the pools of water so you still have color, but you also have a lot of light. So that is my base. As you can see, I have a very pale base. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to make my flower petals. Now these are going to be more detailed and more defined. However, I'm still only using the cat tongue brush and just laying it down. I'm at about a 45-degree angle, I would say. Oh, also my board, which I use, it's a hard piece of cardboard, and I've used it often. That's why there's so much tape on it. But I have it propped up to a 45-degree angle so that the drips will drip down. So I'm going to slow this down in a minute, and you can see exactly how I get those petals. Some places I do speed up just because I'm just making the same marks over and over again. So just to speed the video up a little bit. But where it's important, I slow it down, like right here. You can see okay, I'm going to zoom in. Here in just a minute so you can see exactly how I'm laying my marks down. Oh, so I did add a little yellow orange just for the top. I've got yellow, orange, and green. It's kind of a light yellowish green color right up at the top. And I'm only using the tip of my cat tongues brush. I'm not using the whole belly of the brush, just because the petals are smaller up there, and I am using it very wet because that leaves pools and it gives the impression of shadows and gives it depth. Okay, here's a close-up of how I'm using the tip of my brush. Super simple. You just kind of move your hand around and lay the tip of the brush down. And then you don't paint. You don't like move the paint around. You just let it do what it wants to do. Here's a close-up of how I am laying some marks down. You can see how I'm pushing, kind of pushing and pulling, and it's leaving lines, giving the impression of the lines on the petals of the lupin. If you look closely at, now remember, this isn't a botanical painting, it's a loose painting, but if you look closely at the petals of a lupin, you'll see white lines and so this shows you how I'm getting that effect. I'm giving the impression of those petals. I kind of push down, wiggle, I push and pull, depending on which way, right there. So see that? I push down and wiggle my brush. It's very effective, as you can see. And it's fun. And it's very wet. And I do not go back in and try to paint anything, not while it's wet. I just let it dry. This is a very loose painting and really does not take long at all because you really aren't letting the painting dry in between. You're going over it a little bit, as you can see, just to give it more value, some darks, some color variation. Okay, I'm using my little, I don't know what you call that. It's kind of a little square brush, but it's tiny. And here I'm just putting in some, a little more detail. Oh, I changed brushes. I've got a smaller cat's tongue. I'm trying to get a little bit of a color and definition in those upper petals. So it looks like there's shadows and light. Even with the smaller brush, I leave it alone. I just put the marks down and then I just leave it be. As you can see, I'm going in with some darker color, just trying to get some shadows in there. I put the mark down and I leave it alone. I let the paint do the work on the Yupo paper, and that's what's so wonderful about the Yupo paper. And you can do this on regular watercolor paper too. It's just not as fluid, and you would be using a little bit different technique. And I am thinking of doing I have another painting that is lupin on traditional watercolor paper, so I'm thinking about going ahead and putting that, posting that to my channel. throughout this video I'll be silent and just paint a little bit and maybe turn up the music a little bit. I'd have to say that lupine's very close to being done, that flower. So you can see how I went in and I lifted that paint up. It's very easy to do. You just get your paintbrush wet and you just kind of, you don't even have to barely scrub if there's an area that you don't like. Now Yupo paper does stain, so you need to keep that in mind. I'm just, again, I'm not moving any of the bottom paint around. I'm just adding a top layer. It's called glazing, but I'm not really moving my brush around much. I'm just putting the marks down and leaving it alone. A close-up of me bending the tip of my brush to get the exact mark that I want. Back to my smaller brush, my smaller cat tongue. And I'm giving those upper petals a little more definition just by touching them. I'm not going in and painting back and forth. I'm just touching them with the tip of the brush, adding a little bit of color for a darker value. Again, this is not a botanical painting. If it was, I would have drawn it out correctly. This is just a loose interpretation of a lupine. I get a little wild with my hand. So now I'm going to put a couple lupines in the background, and they're going to be a lighter color because I want them to fade into the background. I want to give the illusion that there are 3 or 4 lupine going to be in the background of the main lupine. The big lupine is the star of the show. And these ones are just in the background, and then the actual background of the painting behind the lupines will be variations of the same color to give the impression that you are in a field of lupines. This is very, very, very easy. You just got to be brave and start putting marks down. As you can see, you can practice with a cat tongues brush if you have one. If you don't have one, you can just use whatever brushes you have. Just use the tips. Just do a little bit of practice on paper and see what kind of marks you can get. Here I'm just adding a shadow. You can see this just was very loose, very watery, very effective. And if it's too dark or too light, it's so easy on Yupo paper. I just lifting it up to get it to drip down. Just practice different marks. This is all intuitive. I had no plan when I started painting this. It's all intuitive. So those marks I'm making give the impression of the stem, being able to see the stem somewhat in between the petals. It just gives it a little more of a dramatic, real life, even though it is impressionistic. I must be going to make some leaves here. See, I lightened that up. I put it down and then I didn't like it, and so I rinsed my brush off, dried it a little bit, and then pulled some of it off. Personally, now that I'm looking at it right now, I think I liked it darker. You can see the water running on the stem. It's a very, very fun process working on this paper. Very fluid. You can see me just picking it up there with the paper towel. Mixing up some more green. I've got that ultramarine, the blue and the green separated. Now I'm getting brave with my leaves. Lupine leaves have, I believe, 5 leaves on a stem. I know it's an odd number, not an even number. Okay, so what I'm doing there is putting the paint down with that paintbrush, just making a mark. And then I was drying my brush off and going back in and dabbing at it. As you can see, pretty much I'm just making marks. The paint is only going to flow where there's wet paint. It's not going to flow outside those lines unless it's just super, a lot of water and really drippy. So just by pressing the brush down, the water will stay within the lines of those petals. I'm doing a little bit of background, you can see there. Going right back into my petals again. So if you let it dry, and it dries really fast, if you let it dry a little bit for probably about a minute, then you can apply pressure with the brush again and get some texture. That's what I'm doing here. I'm getting some different colors and textures in the leaves. Again, I'm just getting the green and the blue and letting the water run down the stem. Just kind of making up the leaves as I go. I'm looking at a reference of the leaves, and I added a picture of the leaves at the beginning of this video that you can use as a reference. Those are all my own photographs. So as you see how the green dripped down, I just didn't worry about it. I just added to it. That'll just be part of the atmosphere, the background of the painting. I'm just grabbing some of that paint and moving it around. Obviously, I can't leave those leaves alone. Nothing has to be perfect, it's just giving the impression. And your eye is going to correct it when it looks at it. It's going to know those are lupin leaves. I love adding the darker colors to the leaves It just gives it so much contrast and life. So watercolor typically dries lighter on traditional watercolor paper. On Yupo, it still dries a little bit lighter, but not as much. The colors stay pretty vibrant. It really is a fun substrate to paint on. You really should try it. If you're a traditional watercolorist and you've never painted on Yupo paper before, it's definitely different. The watercolor is not absorbing like regular watercolor paper. So the pushing and pulling and blending, it's a lot different. I think that you'd have to know how to work with alcohol inks in order to paint this type of watercolor method on Yupo paper. There's a lot more control with watercolor on Yupo paper than with alcohol ink, but it's still very, very loose and fluid. So this is so much fun, putting the background in like this. It's with Yupo paper, it's just so easy. You can if you make a mistake, you can fix it very quickly just by using a dry brush or getting all the water out of your brush and then just wiping it up with a clean brush. It's very forgiving. Again, it does stain. So if you do have an area that you want to stay pure white, be mindful of that, because right here it doesn't matter to me if it stains because the background is going to be a bluish purple anyway. So I'm putting contrasting colors like next to the leaves. Red is the complementary color of green, so I am putting in that purple there, which really makes the green pop. Again, I'm not really painting, I'm pretty much just touching the brush down, making marks, letting all the water kind of flow together. So what I'm doing there is just kind of giving the impression that there is foliage behind there, lightly. So my leaves had dried, and that's why that new paint that I put on shows up so brightly. It looks really good. Very effective. Well, if you stuck around this long and you're painting along, make sure to comment and let me know. I would love to see a copy. I would love to see a picture of your painting. If you go to my art site on Facebook, Mary S. Darling Art, you can, I think you have permission to post a painting in there. Again, in the background, I'm just giving the impression that there are lupine in the background. I always use the rule of threes or fives, the odd numbers in my paintings. I try to anyway. I do 1, 3, 5. I rarely ever do even objects. You can see my 2 lupines, the one in the foreground and that one that I'm painting right now is kind of merging together there. I don't know if I'm gonna go in and make that lighter behind the one that's in front, or if I'm just gonna leave them merged. You see I put that purplish color in between those leaves and the stem right there. That's very effective. You can tell I'm finishing up here. I'm getting a little more contrast in there, giving a little more depth. Okay, so here I'm doing the background, and that's why I have it upside down. Again, it's at like a 45-degree angle, my board is, so that when I put the paint down, that it flows downward, so it'll drip down. I really appreciate you if you stuck around. I appreciate you anyway, even if you didn't. But if you did, leave me a comment and tell me what you think. If you want more long-form videos like this, any tips or ideas that might make it easier for someone to paint along. Any questions or comments, just let me know. Again, I appreciate you all. Thanks for taking the time to watch or paint along. So some of this, it was out of the shot of the camera. I'm pulling my board up and kind of tamping it down so that the water flows whichever way I'm tamping my board. I think I do it right here too. Fortunately, it wasn't caught on camera. I pulled it out of the sight of the camera. I think this painting, all in all, probably took about an hour and a half, maybe not quite that long, but I was filming it, you know, while I was painting, so that does add time. There, I'm tamping it down, trying to get the water to flow in the direction that I want it to go. Basically, I'm just putting some paint down, and then I'm just turning my board up all the way on its side. Obviously, I wasn't happy with that one area. I kept redoing it. Just giving the impression of that we're in a field of lupine. So you can just kind of barely see the shadow of lupines in the back. Kind of fun. She's not happy yet. Just giving you a close-up of steady rhythm, soft humming. You can see the water flowing, and then I'm kind of picking it up there because I don't want it to flow all the way down to the edge, but I do want the marks there. Again, thank you so much for watching. Conversations and back roads, winding where the wild thoughts go. No script, no signs, just soul. Every turn, a tale.